Is up, legends? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting edition of the True Earth Debate, the official watch party. That's right, embracing the new dynamic, the new platform, the new way of doing things, if you will, in full swing. It's just going so much more smoother, so much more smoothly, pardon me, doing it this way. And that is doing a TikTok live debate sometime during the daylight hours, when we can get a lot of audience, get a lot of different people in. I've been selectively picking a different time of day each time to make sure that we can get dynamic guests on, and it's been paying off, guys. What do you think? It is. I've been enjoying the conversations, and today we have another one for you. But of course, don't worry. It's still a live event, right? We're going to be in the chat. I'm going to be chatting it up with you, enjoying some tea and some other consumables, as I'm sure you all will be as well. Much love to everybody who's decided to join us. Of course, Lord Racer, shout out. Thanks for the 5 memberships. Guys, grab them up. If you don't have a membership, you are missing out. We do members-only chats, members-only streams, all kinds of good stuff. So thanks again. Okay, we got Justin Johnson. What is up, my friend? Run Boston Bear, 711 Lucas. Make sure you turn those gifts on, Lucas. You can, and Callaway Crusher as well. Bill Wheel, what is up, my friend? Rashad, what is up? Lisa Severe, Space Miner. Who else? Shifty Eyes Shady, what is up, my friend? What's a Russ? Big Daddy Russ is the name of a anti-flat earther over on TikTok. So should be a pretty great conversation. He does join a little bit later in the conversation, so make sure you stay tuned. Of course, you guys always do. We got FE Nation, Nominal, Admiral Dickie Bird, what is up? Who else do we got? Thrash, List, Smith. The list goes on. Stego, Bro, Ruhif, what is up? Killerman, Kakazu, Setneg. Excuse me. All right, probably should chill on the tea. Green, Chili Bear. All right. If I'm missing you, I apologize. I'm not going to go down all the way to the Samuel Paul Setchler. Almost down to the whole list. Mojo Shop. Tapered Bodies. You know what? We're here. Why not? We shouted you all out. Congratulations. That's what you get for being here early. And, of course, we got 7 legends over on Rockfin, including Justin Johnson, the one and only, Space, Audits, and Nominal. Much love, guys. All right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get this thing loaded up. It looks like it already is. I cut through like a minute and a half of the first BS, but we had some guests jump on pretty early. So what a treat, right? Got about an hour and a half here. So going to be a good one. All right. Of course, we got to pull on in the rest of it. So, of course, you guys get to get that quick sneak peek of the back end. Let's go ahead and fire away. See you guys on the other side in the chats. Oh, well. Oh, there we are. Perfect. Showing up. There we go. Awesome. Yeah, welcome in. We're here to have, you have no evidence, says Doc Tolkien. Well, yeah, you can just hand wave away the evidence if you'd like, but you can't say I have no evidence. That's just disingenuous. You can say you don't agree with my evidence. Super funny. Super funny that you would just make that obviously bogus claim. Just admit it. The way the stars move proves the shape of the Earth. You're ridiculous. That's why I'm not going to say the southern stars debunk the flat Earth. They don't. It's just the things in the sky. You are begging the question, saying that it has a correlation to what we're seeing on the ground. You can't actually 100% verify that. It's just a claim you make. Not by the way they move. Just have to show up. I just don't even understand the claim there. So moving on. We also got lots of basic things like the physics of water, as they say, finding its level. Although, I will be honest with you, right, no matter how you look at it, it is true that we do have tides, which means that water does have a point where it's not level. Even on the flat Earth cosmology, there's bulges for whatever reason. Maybe it's the swells of where the water's like coming out the primordial depths. Who knows? I don't know. Dreadful Truth, what is up? Feel free to jump on in the box. Awesome. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Yo, I got a quick question, bro. You hear me?
Yeah, fire away.
Uh, so we know that the core, uh, that our magnetic field is comes from the core, right?
How do you know that?
Well, that's what they teach us. That's basically what they teach us, that
Okay.
we get magnetism from the core.
Okay, so we don't know that, right? That's just the claim.
Yeah, okay, so that's the claim. So where I'm getting at is the core is molten iron, right?
I, I mean, I
The
don't
the
know
the
that, but I mean, you can assume that in the mainstream model, sure.
Yeah, so if you look into the core, they say that the core is molten iron, right? And that the core is where we get our magnetism from. This is what they teach us, right? So my question is, how is this true if iron loses its magnetism after 770 degrees?
Well, to steelman the point for the globe side, since I don't see anybody in here ready to bat for them. The claim is that when you start spinning the iron around, you can actually generate magnetism, but they still run into the symmetry problem. There's actually a fluctuating, non-symmetrical nature of the magnetic field as it maps out over the known globe Earth, right? And this geometry problem right now doesn't have an answer. It's just, well, yeah, it's just not symmetrical, but yeah, it doesn't really stand to reason that doesn't really stand to reason that it would be so wonky just because we have a rotating field underneath. You know, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. And that again, it's all presupposition. You have to assume the molten core. You have to assume pretty much the entire model in order to then say, well, yeah. And if you assume all that, then it makes sense. So there was no actual experiment that was done to prove that there's like molten iron in the depths of the earth, or much less that there's rotating, and that that's the source of our magnetic field.
Okay, yeah, because I was really looking into this, man. I was looking into all of these things as far as what we were taught, and what we were taught to believe, and it just makes me question a lot of things, and the magnetic field and the core and all these things like that. So I just had that quick question, man. You pretty much cleared it up. You know what I'm saying? Uh it just It's a lot of stuff that don't make sense to me, man.
Sure, man. Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on. I am more so looking for people who do believe in the mainstream globe Earth model for one reason or another. So, with that, I will go ahead and bid you adieu. Dreadful Truth, is there anything you wanted to say to the audience on your way out?
Oh nah, man. Just just keep just question everything, man, and instead of being insulting and stuff like that, we don't have to be like that, man. It's just a bunch of us that's trying to seek the truth and get our questions answered. And I appreciate you letting me come on, man.
For sure, Dreadful. You have a wonderful one, man. Feel free to come on in next time when we're doing more of a group thing instead of a 1v1. I'm trying to more so have one-on-one conversations so everybody gets a chance to have their piece and make their argument and actually have it answered. Instead of people feeling like they're gish galloping or talking over each other to just bring up another point all of a sudden. Not saying you would have done that, Dreadful, but there's always a chance, right? So I prefer the 1v1s, just to be honest with you. But Mark Justice, welcome to the show. 777. Uh, what do you have for us today?
Hey, brother, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. So, I have two questions for you. First of all, if there's not a magnetic core, in the center, and I'm not a glober. Okay, I'm a flurfer big time. But what makes a compass work? Number one, and number two, what is your shutdown argument for the globies? Like, what is the one thing that they always shoot at us, and their arguments are good, but there's got to be something that you just can say that is just a shutdown. And I'd like to just shut up and let you talk, please, sir.
Oh, an absolute shutdown to the globe. Well, it does depend on the level of intelligence, I guess, right? Because if you're not at the level to be able to understand the argument, then you can just hand wave away and pretend like you didn't just suffer a massive loss. And we do see that quite a bit in these debates. But to answer the very first question, which I've already forgotten what it was, can you refresh my memory? Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, just what makes the compass go?
Oh, yeah,
If there's not a magnetic core, yeah,
Right, right.
I don't
Yeah.
understand that.
So yeah, the way that I see it, and this is just speculation, right? Because I haven't been to the North Pole to be able to test any of this. But
Right.
if I had to guess, there's a magnetic mountain, maybe a giant lodestone type thing over at the North Pole, and that all the
Okay.
magnets are actually just attracted north, and it's a misconception that we're actually using like a South Pole to navigate. We actually just paint the
Sure.
other side of the magnet and then use that. Now, if I'm wrong about that, which I'm open to being wrong about that, then I would say that there could be multiple magnetic mountains, if you will, across the plane, and this would create the different poles, if you will, that can be confused and then contorted to make people believe that they're living on a ball.
Okay. And thank you. That gives me a lot of clarity, just to have something to consider, because I don't know either if it's magnetic mountains or if there is something, at the center, at the North Pole, if you will,
These
that,
questions are
you know,
these questions are
go
like
ahead.
super important because it opens up the door. If we can actually ask these questions and be able to investigate them honestly, then we'll actually hopefully be able to open up these areas like the North Pole. If people aren't aware that there's actually like a tripwire, I can't remember the name of the program, but they actually block off the north as well as the south from
Yes.
civilian travel. So I mean, try
Yes.
to find a civilian out there that has the North Pole, or sorry, the North Star at absolute zenith, right? You're not going to
Right.
find that. It's going to be
Right.
like from some scientist or military guy, if at
Yeah.
all. So,
Yeah. Absolutely.
so yeah, I would love to
Crazy.
be able to go and explore these areas and be able to see, exactly what's going on there. Um, but yeah, and the other question would be, how could we test the globe Earth claim, right? Like, how would we be able to test that there's a spinning magnetic iron core within this presupposed globe that's actually generating this strong magnetic, or I guess it's relatively weak depending on how you look at it, but this massively
Right.
large magnetic field that just happens to hold like no even remote symmetrical shape at all, right? Which is
Right.
unlike any magnet. But
Exactly.
there's my 2 cents on that particular subject. And then as for like an absolute shutdown of the globe, I have to be completely honest. I don't think that there is an absolute shutdown, one size fits all. But I do think it's hilarious to bring up the fact that the number one proof of the globe, which is that it's always sunsets. It's always the horizon, basically. It's sunsets
Yeah.
and boats disappearing the way that buildings disappear in the distance. If it were flat, we'd see forever, right? It's straw man. So I think that bringing up and proving out the fact that the horizon is always an optical phenomena and that it would be created even if it were between two flat planes, which has now been completely disregarded by the globe side. They think the horizon would not exist if it wasn't for a physical sphere edge and the
Yeah.
sky curving down to actually
Yeah.
create that. It's
Yeah.
absolutely hilarious. You've never played a video game in your life. You've never played any
Right.
of them, guaranteed.
Yeah. Exactly. And it kills me that, to your point on let us prove. Well, we're not allowed to prove
What's
anything,
up,
brother.
guys?
They don't let us have access to anything. We're not allowed to go below the 60th. I just learned from you. We're not allowed to go to the North Pole. We're not allowed to explore 70% of the Grand Canyon. I was in a debate earlier today about that. There's things that we're not allowed to do that would absolutely verify yes or no. And again, like you, I win either way, because if you let me go below the 60th and just hook south until forever, until something breaks or I find something, and I'm just wrong. It just I wind up right back in the same place again, having circumnavigated north to south. Okay, how we? But they won't let us do that with
And then
anything.
when they do have somebody do it, it's completely fraudulent. But Mark, I do appreciate you coming on.
Yes,
Just like I
thank you for
told the other
having me.
guy, we definitely want to try to get 1v1s with opposition. So, do you have any final words for the audience?
I do not. Thank you so much. Peace and love.
Peace and love, Mark. Until next time.
Yes, sir.
All righty.
You're looking for 1v1s, buddy?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, if I can, yeah, 1v1s for sure, so that I can stay concise and actually have a good dialogue back and forth without people gish galloping. It happens too often when we bring like 2 and 3 people in, and then everybody wants to try to get their 5 minutes of fame on the Tribune show. So, but Jay,
dude, trust me, I know, dude. I debate every day, dude. And it's like that on every single show. So
you know what it is, man. But
Yeah,
welcome to the
all right,
show,
buddy.
man. What do you have for us today?
Oh, me? Nothing. I was just checking in with you. I thought you were gonna do like a full debate, but if you're just trying to go one-on-one, I'll let you do it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. And if you would, feel free to share the show. Let's go ahead and get it out there. I see we only have 1 share. Pretty sad that we got 100 people in here and only 1 share. You guys definitely know somebody that could refute this flat Earth nonsense, right? You got to save me from this caveman belief, right?
Yeah, save him. If you want to mod me, I'll try to push your likes too. So
awesome, Jay. Give me a second. The only thing I ask is that you don't go wild with it.
I won't even block nobody. If you
okay, cool. Okay. Let me do this for you then. How in the heck? There you go. Mod it up. You can block people that are insulting and spamming. But other than that, don't block anybody. Oh, and racist comments.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Makes sense.
Yep, it makes perfect sense.
All right, later.
Later. Thanks for coming on. All right, Globers, let's go. We'll do an interact here. So we see we got 100 people in here. We'll do a quick poll. Give us a big smiley face if you are questioning the mainstream narrative, if you feel that there's enough evidence to feel like something might be up with the fishiness at NASA. Or if you just eat that stuff right up and believe the mainstream narrative as it's presented to you without further inquiry, then definitely smash that crying face because it's pretty sad. But own it with pride, right? It is a versus you got to show out your numbers. Surely there isn't more flat earthers than there are globers, right? No way. You're paranoid. It's not our problem. That's so funny. Don't have to be paranoid to be able to point out basic facts about the way things work and the way that science has been hijacked, right? It's actually a whole bunch of pseudoscience, science masqueraded, or not real science, masquerading as science, you should say. Royal T, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
How's it going?
It's going fantastic, man. What do you have for us today?
Just on the debate of, whether the earth is flat. Have you ever been out to the ocean, in the middle of the ocean, where all you see is water, all around you? And you look off in the distance.
Right.
Tell me what you see at the horizon.
Right.
What do you see?
Water, right? Isn't that what you said?
No, you see the curvature of the earth. You see the curvature of the earth.
Do you now?
Yes, you do.
How do you see that?
By being out on the ocean and when all the water's calm.
Okay.
And all you see is water all around you.
Sure. So, like, in what way do you see the curvature, right? Because if you work out the geometry, right, even in your model, then what you would see from the Earth's surface would just be a straight line if you spun around, right? So how are you extrapolating this curvature?
Okay. You may have a good point there. But when you look up and you see the moon and the sun, they're both round. I mean, in by observation, I mean, it looks round. So what, you think it's a pancake up there? I mean,
how do you
really? I mean,
just to be completely honest with you, Royal, I mean, look at the moon right here, right? Obviously, you wouldn't be able to say it's round looking at that.
It's circular.
I'm just gonna messing with you. I actually do agree with you that the moon and sun do appear like spherical, Some people say it's more
Right.
disc-like, and sometimes I see that with the sun, but maybe that's just an optical effect. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
care. It doesn't have anything to do with the shape of what we're standing on, right?
Right. Well, in a way, could be. I mean, this is the year we're in the 2000, and it's like, at one time, the Catholic Church believed that the uh, our solar system would traveled around the Earth, that we were the center of our solar system, and in fact, it was the sun. And they actually put Galileo in prison for uh, saying things like that. And then, but after
Okay.
time, the Catholic Church actually,
All right. So
agreed with Galileo.
who cares about the stories of yesteryear that nobody can verify, right? What do we have today
Really?
that we can look at that would um, be able to definitively tell us exclusively the shape and nature of our place in the
Well,
cosmos?
I guess if that was the fact, that we'd all have to ourselves, because anything else that's in books or literature that is to our access is obviously not proof in your terms. So you'd have to go up in a rocket ship or a plane uh, far enough to to outer space, whatever you want to say that outer space is, 60 miles up or whatever you say, that in to see for ourselves. I mean,
How do
really,
you know? How do
me,
you know that?
I
How do you?
I can't say it's round. I can't say it's flat. You know what I'm saying? I can't say either one.
Well,
I
Royal,
believe it's round.
I'm just gonna be honest with you, right? Like, even if I personally went up, right? Let's steel man it for a second. Even if I personally went up myself in a rocket, right, and we had a um, perfectly flat window with no curvature in it whatsoever, right? Who's to say that at super vast distances, right, that your eyes, because they are in fact spheres taking in the light, that you wouldn't construe a curvature with great distances? After all, we do see in hyperbolic space, and at great distances, it becomes parabolic. So I just don't see how we could use the way that we see things as a reliable method of verifying the shape of what we live on. I mean, after all, in the mainstream model, right, isn't the whole claim that you can't trust your senses and that you do need to like go beyond that to be able to determine the truth of things, right? Because you look around, it's flat. And I'll even go a step further and say that it operates as if it's flat, right? At least with respect to electromagnetic waves and line of sight shots, like rail guns, long distance photography, etc. So I just don't see how we can then extrapolate without definitive, verifiable proof that we're on something else, right? Maybe help me out a
Okay,
little bit.
but you lay claim to the Earth being flat.
So do
I
you know the
mean,
term if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, then it's probably a duck?
well, have you heard the term of uh, don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see?
Okay, but with that being
Yes,
said,
I've
if I
heard the
if I
term.
applied that same standard to the globe Earth evidence, right, then there would still be more flat Earth evidence than globe Earth evidence. Not just Occam's razor it, right? So again,
Well,
if
just
it looks like a duck and
because you're
without
so
like
all this scientific material, it means nothing. All these
that's a
scientists been
claim
doing for
to you're
hundreds
just
of years.
no, you're just
I'm not
claiming
claiming.
to doing a blanket claim with vague specificity to all the science, all of the years, all of the research. Let's get specific with it, right? I'm not denying all of research. There's plenty of
Okay,
research I agree with. What research that supports the claim that the Earth is a globe do we have to look at to be able to scrutinize and then be able to determine that yes, this is in fact true, and I'm an idiot.
well, I obviously believe that we haven't done all this research, and I mean, to say the Earth is flat, I mean, it's just kind of obvious that after so many people have studied and they got documentations and all this, just because your lack of resources doesn't mean that
All right.
it's flat or that you don't believe these resources.
Royalty, I appreciate you coming on, laying out some great points. Is there any final words that you have for the audience?
No, but I do have to say that you are probably one of the flatlanders that I could listen to some of your arguments, and they're good arguments, and compared to some of them. But all right, that's it.
I appreciate you coming on, Royal. And just to let you know, to put it full face value, right? They're not really my arguments. These arguments are old.
There's
They've been
arguments all
around.
over the
It's just they
world.
don't always get presented well. Brittany, I appreciate you being
Oh my
patient and coming on the show. If you turn your
man, I
mic up
never
a bit,
done.
that'd be great.
I don't know how to do this. I'm sorry, dude. I've never done this before.
You're fine.
Listen, yeah, am I good now?
Your mic is a little low. Do you have a headset or anything like that you can use?
No, I really don't.
Okay.
But listen, I have one question. I am a flat earther for life. Listen, I'm a flat earther, but I have one question that I cannot get answered. That a round earther told me, why is the American flag up there on the moon? And you really can see it. I just have that one question. Why? Why is that flag up there? Do you have an answer?
Yeah. So if you actually just do a Google search right now, right? Don't take my word for it
Thank
at
you.
all. You can actually just look it up and see that you can't see the flag, right?
Exactly. Well, I mean, I know that, but I had one round earther person. That was the only thing that they had to say was that damn flag. And I said, no. I said, dude, if you do some research on it, you'll see. But I've never done this before, so my nerves are kind of like, oof.
You're fine, Brittany. I do appreciate you coming on. I am more so looking for opposition, though. Do you have any final thoughts for the audience?
I mean, the motherfucker's flat. If you're just dumb, I mean, it's flat. I mean, just period. Just do some research and you will see it's flat.
That's hilarious. Remember, guys, just our opinions and religious views here, nothing to see. But we do appreciate you guys tuning in and sharing all the likes, getting us up there. I still can't see how many likes we're at, but I imagine it's a
I'll
lot.
tell you got
9.8.
Oh, wow. You guys are crushing it. That's why they won't show me. They don't want me to get any more hype.
All right, I'll see what this grim dude got to say. I don't like
Can
this.
you hear me?
This is the first time I've ever done it. Y'all have
Pretty, you're
fun.
all right. I am going to go ahead and let you go, though, because I am going to try to
Alright,
keep it
y'all be
1v1 to keep things from going crazy. But I hope you have a wonderful one, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Until next time.
Just curious,
Alrighty.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being patient.
Yeah, no
What do
problem.
you have for us today?
So, I just want to know, did you know about the study in 2019 done by flat earthers where they proved themselves wrong?
Oh, nice. Which one are you talking about?
I don't know. I can't remember the name of the documentary specifically, but basically,
Was it on Netflix?
I don't remember, honestly.
Was it Behind the Curve?
It might have been. But essentially what they did is they bought a $20,000 ring laser gyroscope.
It was Behind the Curve. Okay.
Okay, yeah. Then, yeah, I guess that was the one. But yeah, the $20,000 ring laser gyroscope, they did several different tests with it, to which they still, for some reason, didn't agree with it. And so they decided to use a generic light camera, test to see whether or not the Earth was flat or round. And the test itself did prove that there was a curvature that was not able to be seen by the human eye. So,
well, I think you have the I think you have some of the details wrong with regards to the with all of it, just to be honest with you. I have seen it, Grim, and just to let you know, I've also been, while that film was being made, I was also following the flat earthers that were making the documentary with the film crew. So here's the thing, right? Have you followed journalism or any of the people that documentary is about? Probably not, right?
I have never been able to find them on social media, so.
Right. Did you notice in their documentary how they never actually claimed that it was proof of anything?
I did not. It's been a while since I've seen it, so.
I would challenge you to go back and watch it carefully with a fine-tooth comb, and you'll actually understand that they're very tactful with the words that are being used. I'm not talking about Jaronism and the gang. I'm talking about the film crew and the other players that they're interacting with. The thing is that if it's basically a hit piece, right? With
Mhm.
long story as short as it can possibly be. They clipped out certain segments and they made it look as bad as they could. When in truth, the pursuit of the truth, right, when doing science, is that you have to account for multiple different variables.
Yeah.
You have to repeat test multiple times, and that was actually done, and they got different results. So they actually walked away that night. Both Globers and Flat Earthers showed up to those experiments, and nobody was walking away saying it was proof of anything. In
Yeah.
fact, the curvature test, to say it can't be seen with the human eye is just wrong on its face, right? You have to be able to see it in order to be able to, measure this dip, right? Because that's basically what you're saying is the ground's dipping away. And they actually were looking for a light or the lack thereof, right?
Well,
So you
when
would
I
be able to
say-
see that with your eyes, right? That's
Well,
objective.
I guess the better term would be the naked eye. Like, you can't just like look at it without any cameras or extra equipment and be like, oh yeah.
No, you could.
There's
You
curve.
could definitely see the light. It's just the cameras were able to see the light as well, right? So that's also not really a true statement. But in any case, the height that they seen it at was actually a little about halfway, but not exact, and it was more towards the flat Earth side anyway. But you are right; it wasn't the flat Earth prediction, and it wasn't the globe Earth prediction either. Which is pretty funny, but they just cropped it, and people are extrapolating Jaron saying interesting as an actual proof of something, which is hilariously sad, but not quite as sad as people actually believing that a TV show or a movie is actual evidence.
I mean, I see your point there. And to be honest, I guess there's no real way of any of us proving,
Oh, one thing
one
else.
way.
Before we can continue on what you were saying, do you want to also add in and address the gyroscope thing, right? Because I didn't touch that yet.
Mm-hmm.
The gyroscope thing is actually pretty interesting. It's actually claimed that experiment was done at multiple different elevations, and they got a different level of friendship. So it hasn't been documented or repeated yet, so it's hard to determine if that's the truth yet.
Yeah.
But one thing also I will tell you is that the idea that we have behind the propagation of light, which is how a ring gyroscope works, is completely inaccurate. In fact, the guy who invented or who discovered the Sagnac effect thought that it was due to ether rotation, right? That it was actually a field of whatever the heck it's called, the ether field, right? The thing that propagates light and electromagnetism. That is like spinning around us. And as kind of evidence to that, there's actually a preferred direction of light. If you look into the calculations done for the satellites, instead of doing the, what was it called? The time dilation equation, that equation actually did not work, and they had to replace it with a Lorentz linear equation that just had the preferred direction of light as going east to west. And so that's just how it is. So light just actually travels faster going one direction than it does the other. And nobody even addresses that when talking about the physics of light. They just want to assume that it's all the same from the reference frame, and therefore we can't actually prove out anything.
Yeah, well, I will say this, I personally can't be like, I've never been to space, so I can't say whether or not it exists, but from a standpoint of someone who's, lived on the side of like science and knowledge, I do prefer to think that the Earth is round, especially given some of the things that I've seen. But until I can get up there and say for sure myself, I guess at this point it would just be opinionated.
What would be the best? What would be your best evidence that leads you to your opinion? I appreciate you being honest, right? That an evidence isn't necessarily like nail in the coffin or 100% exclusive, I guess, but you can admit our biases, and I will admit that I have my own biases as well. I tend to have a bias towards the experiments that are done by individuals that don't have a huge corporate backing or government backing, that don't rely on really complicated equipment that I wouldn't really be able to understand without relying on faith on somebody explaining it to me and just trusting them, right? So
I guess
so that's my bias anyway.
My only evidence would be like anybody else. Basically, I've been to the ocean, I've seen the horizon. So I guess as far as that goes, that can't really be much for like.
So are you talking about like the sinking on the horizon, or are you talking about like an actual like curve this way?
When ships come over the horizon, and then they just kind of appear out of nowhere.
Thank goodness. Some guy actually came in and said that you could just see the horizon just looking left to right, and I'm like, what the frick are you talking about?
You got to be looking out.
You live on a cylinder, if that's the case.
Yep.
But anyway. So yeah, the way that things sink on the horizon, I definitely hear you there. We actually did a Glowbusters episode on this that you can go check out. It's a Glowbusters Tech, and we actually did an experiment where there was a camera placed on the ground at a certain height, and then we placed 2 weights, like plates, on the ground at the bottom at the other end of the um, warehouse. And then what we did was we took pictures at varying distances at the same height, and you actually see that at a certain distance, you actually start to lose the bottom. It starts to blend and distort. And you
Yeah.
actually have observations like this behind me where you can clearly see the optical nature of the horizon, right? That's, if you could point to where you think the horizon is on this picture, where would you point to?
I would definitely point to where the color, or the orange meets the blue.
Right. But you see why that wouldn't be the horizon, right? When you scrutinize it for a moment.
Yeah, I can see that.
Absolutely. So, again, how could you make a good determination of the Earth's shape based on how things are disappearing in the distance when that distance is varying all the time? And not only that, but the whole nature of it in general, right? When you're doing line of sight observations, let's say you wanted to triangulate something, right? All of a sudden, if you're not using the ground, you have to use this bendy line of sight that you have towards this object that's not actually there.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense. And, you mentioned earlier that, evidence isn't necessarily a nail in the coffin. And, even science itself says that, like, a theory is just what's mostly accepted, and it is not 100% proven, guaranteed. It's just what's been accepted most and what has been the most common outcome.
That's true. True science is never settled, obviously.
Yeah.
You can never 100% guarantee that you've taken into account every variable.
Yeah.
But let me go ahead and I will go ahead and let on another guest. You've provided some great conversation, Grim. I appreciate you. Feel free to come on next time as well. If there's room in the box, we do get pretty loaded down. So that's why you guys need to jump in early if you want a chance to say your piece. But we are going to keep rotating through. And Victor, you are echoing a bit, my friend. But Grim, before I let you go, do you have any final thoughts for the audience?
Not that I can think of. All I gotta say is, you do make a pretty good, compelling argument, and that's what I like about, that's what I liked about your life, particularly, is you're not out there like just throwing insults and calling me stupid like most people would. So
you can burn a lot of time by just insulting people, but
yeah,
it's not very productive.
No, I definitely think that a short, to the point debate is better than throwing out insults and being degrading to somebody simply because they don't agree with you.
Yeah, I completely agree. We're all human at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And, I keep bringing this up because it was so good. The guy who was a Glober who was like, if you're dying on the side of the street, somebody runs up to you, they're not going to ask you, what shape do you think the Earth is?
Yeah.
It's not really it's not that important, and to be honest with you, the shape of the Earth isn't the most important thing. The thing that we find the most important is the fact that there is the lie, right? That people can be deceived to this nature, and then we can extrapolate from there the reason why. Like, was it more real estate? Is there something spiritual going on that we can't really grasp? I don't really know 100%. It's all speculation station, but hey, that's why this is like a religious conversation, right? So again, TikTok.
I mean,
don't
to be
honest,
we gotta be fair and say that the government does tend to feed us a lot of stuff. So
it's true. Yep.
All right, man.
And governments have never ever lied.
Oh yeah, totally.
So.
Never. They're all telling the truth.
All right, Grim Shadow. I appreciate you coming on. I'll see you next time.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Victor will feel free to unmute. I had to mute you because you had a bit of an echo, so I just won't talk when you're talking. And thanks for coming on. What do you have for us today? Victor, you are muted. You should be able to unmute. I'll unmute you. There you go. I invited you.
Is that better?
When I don't talk, it's fine.
Can you hear me? Okay. I'm a kind of person that is like, if it don't dramatically affect my life, then it really doesn't matter to me. you know. But this whole flat round thing, it sparks my curiosity. I'll be honest with you. Be truthful. I really don't think anybody knows if it's flat or round. But I've seen some evidence to where it might be round. And let me explain. Yeah, give me a minute, guys. I'm talking to my family. Just give me a minute. I'll be out. Let me go inside here. Now, there's three things that one, it's a question. Okay, if the world was flat and not spinning, then wouldn't we float off of it?
Why?
That's a good question. That's what I was asking. I mean, because
No,
like
but
you put something on a record,
well, let me
if
ask you
put
this.
an item on a record and the record spins, then it flies off. So if the flat Earth is spinning, we would fly off. If it is not spinning, then what is connecting us to our so-called flat Earth?
So what's connecting things to the record if it's not
Nothing.
spinning?
That's what I mean when you start spinning it. Oh, when it doesn't spin?
Yeah.
It's a good question. I don't know. And, you know, to be honest.
Well, could I just say I don't know
really
also,
don't know.
and we just agree that it's not proof of the shape?
Very true. I will agree to that. Like I said, I don't know. Another thing is my uncle was a freight flighter. He was a pilot, and he would fly freight, cargo, and he would fly out from California, and he would go to drop things off in Hawaii. He would go to Japan, and then from Japan he'd go into China, and then into Europe, and then back over here on America's side. So if the world was flat, how can he do that?
Awesome. Glad you asked. So are you familiar with circumnavigation?
I am not.
Okay, so basically what you do is you navigate in a circle, and they navigate in a circle around the North Pole. And this is how almost all of the navigation is done, I believe, right? So you have your compass. Compass is pointing north. You just make a circle around it. If you look at the Earth behind me, the flat one, you can see that the continents are laid out with the North Pole at the center. You just go in a circle. So that's what he did. And he didn't realize that he was going in a circle because, let me mute you for a second so that the echo isn't terrible. So, and the reason why he didn't realize he was going in a big circle is because, for one, it's huge, right? You would not be able to notice that very, very slight turn over such a vast distance. And not only that, but he's basing his directions off of the, again, his position away from north and the latitude longitude system. So again, if you're just following that line and that line is curved, but you think it's straight, you're going to think you're just going around the ball. But in actuality, you're just going in a big circle around north. So I hope that clarifies it.
Yeah, it clarifies a little bit. I'm sorry about the echo. I'm trying to get into a place where it's not echoing so bad.
You have to. You got to get some headphones.
Yeah. Another thing is, if it's flat, the Earth is flat, then how's it come the compasses act funny around the equator?
Funny in what way?
Like if you're in South America, in I think it's either Ecuador or Honduras, the compasses will point the opposite direction on where they normally go. So instead of everything being north, it's south.
Can you verify that? Because that doesn't make any sense, because the way the compasses work is that the magnetic field, right, has two different poles, right? Even in the mainstream model, right? So north is always going to point north, and south is always going to point south, and they're not going to flip just because you went to the other side of the equator.
Well, I mean, I have friends in Honduras, and I mean, I can't contact them right now, obviously, talking to you. But I mean, they could tell you, yeah, that when you're down in that area, the compasses point south instead of north.
If that is true, Victor, I'll just let you know I would see this as like a huge problem for the globe because it would mean there are multiple north charged magnetic fields instead of a
Yeah, that's what
north
I
and a
was gonna say.
south.
Yeah. Right.
So
Right.
that's why I tend to believe that your claim probably isn't valid. I've never heard anybody make the claim except for you, but I can look into it.
Sure. And there's another thing that boggles my mind is they have this bird called an Arctic tern, and I supposedly it is the only bird that will fly completely and migrate completely from pole to pole. And they have done tagged these birds, and like they come around to the opposite side of where these college professors and students have tagged them, and went uh, and did the research with other colleges in other nations and other parts of the nations, and they tagged these birds, and they come from north to south. They don't come back, they don't leave north and then come back north. They come from north and then they go around and they come back up from the south.
So you're saying that there's a bird that flies around the entire Earth?
Yes, it's called an Arctic tern. They
We'll look that
actually
up.
have it right in Google. I can tell you all about it right in Google.
That
Uh,
sounds pretty interesting. I've never heard that before.
yes, I mean, you'd have to look it up. It's called an Arctic tern. They actually fly completely, what they say, around the planet.
Let's go ahead and check that. Sorry, I got my
But
kids
see, then
yelling in the background.
no, that's okay. But see, then there's also evidence to where it could be flat. Like, okay, Amelia Earhart. You know, what happened to her? Why did her plane go down? You know, did she see or know something that they didn't want us to know? I don't know. I mean, there
It's
was
pretty.
also the conspiracy side. You know.
That is pretty loose, but the conspiracy side with like all the, um, the how NASA can't really provide really good evidence is hilarious. It's all videos, pictures, and
Right.
people have to basically
Right.
just zealously claim that they can't possibly be faked, which is hilarious.
Very true. I mean, it does spark my curiosity. I will admit, but as of like, does it concern me? I mean, unless it dramatically changes my life, I mean, I'm not really concerned, either way. But it is a curious, you know, topic.
100%. I'm definitely going to look into the birds thing because that's pretty interesting.
Arctic tern.
Um,
It's called an
yeah, I'm
Arctic
looking at the
tern.
Arctic Tern right now, but I just can't find a flight path. So that's really what I'm looking for. But in any case, I do appreciate you pointing that out. That's something new. Definitely something new.
Yeah, I was amazed when I found out about it. I actually heard about it from my uncle. He was saying look up an Arctic tern, and so I looked it up, did some research on it. And I mean, it was years ago, so I really can't remember the websites I went on. One of them was the Smithsonian website, but see, then that's also like government funding. NASA government funding.
Hey, so
We don't know if they're telling us the truth or lying to us.
just to
you
let you
know?
know, from what I can see on the Arctic Tern, let me mooch on it for a second. It's saying is that they migrate from the Arctic Circle to the Antarctic Circle. It doesn't say that they travel over the continent of Antarctica and then travel back and do a complete circumnavigation, right? For all we know, they just go back and forth. And that would intuitively make sense because the distance is only 18,641 miles, right? So that's not enough mileage to go around the presupposed globe Earth. So that stands to reason that that missing distance would be the Antarctic continent or the presupposed Antarctic continent. Who knows? I just know that I'm not finding any not finding any info that they actually fly all the way over Antarctica. For what it's worth, still in the early stages of the investigation. But I will go ahead and move on. We'll probably take one more guest before we call it a show. Let me go ahead and let you unmute. Sorry, I don't know if you're not able to until I invite you. But Victor, I appreciate you coming on. Do you have any final thoughts for the audience?
All I can say is, like, go ahead and look into it, but don't stress about it, because like I said, honestly, if it don't dramatically change your life, then it shouldn't be a big concern.
Oh man, I'm so stressed. No, I'm just kidding. I actually am. I'm actually never bored anymore looking into this stuff and being able to provide great information. But Victor, I appreciate you coming on, and I will definitely see you next time.
All right, good talk.
All right, let me get you out of here. Just Jay, welcome to the show. Thanks for being patient.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you good, and there's no echo. Hallelujah.
Excellent. All right. Unfortunately, right now I only have a short period of time. I didn't know your stance when I first got on, and I kind of have an idea of your stance right now. So, in my opinion, the debate between all this science is almost just monotonous because there's so many variables to consider, and faith is the biggest thing you have to rely on because you got to trust the information being given. And like you said, it's not like governments haven't lied before. Same thing with the science industry. And one thing that everybody's missing in the debate is the blind spot in science, where we're not taking personal experiences to explain what reality is. For example, people that have had paranormal activity, ghosts, people that have seen UFOs or whatever kind of unexplainable type stuff science cannot accept. Yet we have millions upon millions of experiences talking about this. And then you combine that with history and you start looking at the symbols that different cultures use, what their religious practices were, what the differences and similarities were between cultures, and you find that there's a lot of shared practices that you see the same symbols across the world from a time period where travel across the world wasn't a thing, right? And so when you go into the globe theory, what is that? About 400 years old? Something like that. And the rest of history, we've always known to be a dome underneath a firmament, right? And there's been...
No, they claim that the Greeks knew that the Earth was a ball, thanks to Eratosthenes and what's the other guy? Archimedes.
Okay. Which are gods, which are known as Elohim, right? Through a lot of, well, through the Bible and whatnot. So when you take the Bible and all of the other cultures throughout time and you look at the stories, you find a lot of similarities, like you would with Gilgamesh in Greek mythology. You compare him to Nimrod in the Bible, and you could it's plausible that they're the same character, right? And so when you go into the amount of effort to, I guess, convince a globe theory, and I don't know which way or the other. I think any one theory is just as right or wrong as the next one, because I don't know. I'm just a dude in South Dakota, right?
I'll be honest with you, Jay. I think that, and feel free to have any type of opinion about this, but I think that that particular stance is a weak one to take, because I think that there is objective truth and that we do have the capability to figure that out. And it's just part of the brainwashing that has led people to believe that we have to rely on these big institutions and fancy equipment to be able to prove out basic physics and basic reality. I just don't believe that. I think that the tools right here. You can go down to Walmart and probably get everything you need.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, and you're talking on like how to map out data on the curvature of the Earth and the spin and all that kind of stuff when you're talking about that. So just relying on the mechanics of what we can prove misses out on a whole bunch, because there's all sorts that we can't prove. Just like the paranormal, when you talk about multiple dimensions and such, and I know this isn't a conversation about that, but when you look at what we're given versus the outliers that we see through personal experience, um, I feel that matched with the last $8,000 worth of written, or 8,000 years worth of written history, that I would err on the side of at least putting faith into not necessarily a flat earth, but a landmass that is under a dome and a firmament, because there's just so much throughout so many cultures that have talked about that. Greek, if they started proposing a globe theory way back then, are they the outlier way back then? And you know what? Maybe that makes an argument towards advancement of our knowledge through whatever means they were measuring to make that.
Yeah, I don't really know. I think that simply relying on what people said about things, whether it be religious cultures or the new religion of science today, I think that it's still the same fallacy, right? It's the thing that it really tries to take away from is people's responsibility to actually look into things themselves and be able to verify versus just relying on some authority to again hand you the information. But
Absolutely, the
um,
effort is what matters for sure.
absolutely. But my time is pretty limited. We're
Yep.
actually going to get out of here in the next 5 minutes or so.
All right.
But I do want to try to get one more staunch believer in the mainstream. So I'm actually going to bring on Big Daddy Russ.
All
Uh,
right.
so try not to start screaming right away. Just Jay, do you have any final thoughts for the audience?
No, just you guys have a good day.
Awesome, man. You as well. You have a good
Thank
one.
you much. Bye.
Alrighty. Nope, didn't hang in there. Oh, dang. You almost made it, Russ. You almost made it. All right. We'll go ahead and let on Johnson FE. Probably an FE-er. Who knows? We'll see. Oh, here he is. Okay. Russ, what is up, man? I know you've just been probably gritting your teeth and getting all kinds of all in your feelings about this live. So I appreciate you hanging in there. Welcome to the show.
How are you doing?
Doing fantastic, man. You don't sound as energetic as I thought, so
Mm,
that's cool. I'm good for a nice laid back conversation.
multitasking. Um,
Ah.
yeah, so I mean, when when was the decision in your heart made that science is a fallacy and a religion? Guess we
Yeah,
could
the
start there.
mainstream. I shouldn't really say science, right? Because science is, as you know, Big Daddy, just a methodology, right? A method of trying to create an experiment and ascertain a cause and effect relationship. But people are claiming that things are scientific when they absolutely are not. So it'd be more accurate to say that it's a cult of scientism or pseudoscience.
Pertaining to all of the journey of science, or just the flat Earth?
Well, in this particular conversation, I'm going to limit it to the flat Earth, but it does pertain to other things as well, I'm sure. Will I say every single thing that science has ever ascertained? No, absolutely not. There's things that definitely make sense and you can repeat and make sense intrinsically and don't have any contradictions whatsoever. And they don't
Right.
require ad hoc explanations either.
Yeah. No, I agree. Because, like measuring the sun as it travels across the sky can't be modeled two-dimensionally on a flat, stationary anything, local or otherwise,
Yeah,
day
how
in
did
and
you
day
determine
out.
that?
Um, by by literally measuring the angle of it every single hour from a given location where I am in Ohio. I
So
mean,
you measured the sun moving to determine that it's the Earth moving?
yeah, the time it takes for it to traverse between angular resolutions, like 15 degrees an hour. It's weird how that does that all the time.
Yeah. Does it always do exactly 15 degrees an hour, or is that just an average?
well, between tomorrow, yesterday, today, 2 weeks from now, it's pretty accurate. I mean, sundials, how long have sundials been around? A few thousand years?
I mean, it's a pretty important question, right? Because if, let's say, towards the sunset and sunrise, it is a slightly different speed, but then it makes up for that during the middle of the day. How do you get is it a direct measurement, like it's always 15 degrees per hour, or is that a overall average that is fairly accurate?
It's an overall average that's fairly accurate. I mean, if you take it on the model, the take it on the presence of a very long warehouse with a flat ceiling and a track across the ceiling, and you stand in the middle of the building and somebody turns a spotlight on at one end of the building, but you have the angular resolutions at your location equidistant across the entire roof of the ceiling. How far away would you have to put that spotlight so that the time it takes for it to traverse the first angular measurement, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth throughout the day? You see how easy it is to debunk that it's flat and the earth and the sun is local?
Yeah, so the issue that I have, Russ, is that you're claiming that the way that the things are moving in the sky, and especially the way they go to the horizon, is like the proof of the Earth's sphericity. But you have images like this that happen almost all the time over water. And then when they're not over water, right, you have trees, hills, houses, mountains,
So-
right? You have things for it to set behind, right? So Flat Earth Dave, right, and I know that, well, he's a liar and a grifter. But Flat Earth Dave actually did set up an experiment, filmed it from multiple angles, where they did have like a light drug on a track, and they had an observer down below. And yes, when you have things on the horizon, you can still create the same effect of the same speed of the sun going down. It does set bottom up, and then when you get to water, of course, you have refraction that just throws everything out of wonk. So
Yeah. But
how are we getting an accurate measurement of the radius of the globe when over the flat surfaces we're always dealing with a refracted horizon?
we He did that, what,
Hold on. So
a
you
couple
think that?
thousand years ago?
Well, hold on though. You think that we're not going to do it today, but we're going to trust the guy who did it 4,000 years ago?
Yeah, why not? The entire world trusts his science, and nobody has been able to debunk his science and his methodology. I mean, you use
What
it right
specifically?
now.
So what specifically about his method proved the shape of the Earth?
Our latitude and longitude lines that are actually used in our GPS
So
right
can
now.
you elaborate? How did he prove out the latitude longitude lines?
He developed the latitude longitude lines based on his findings of the circumference of the Earth, using the very center of the core of the Earth as the point zero, and then the angular resolution based on a 360-degree sphere from the inside out. That's how our navigation system still currently works. I mean, Loran C, it used the same exact fundamentals, which is spherical, inside out angular resolution to the stars.
Again, the only issue that I have with all that is that you said prove, but then you continued to introduce a whole bunch of hypotheticals like distance to the presupposed core of a presupposed sphere Earth. He actually assumed an infinite distance to the sun, which doesn't even make sense. How can something that's an infinite distance away make its way around something? How would you get that accurate measurement? And then on top of that, he only had the 2 observers, and admittedly, you did need 3 observers. So how would Eratosthenes' experiment in any way be exclusive evidence of the shape of the Earth? All you've done is offer that we've done more presuppositions off of this presupposition.
Why would you need 3?
to ascertain the relationship of the shadows, if whether it's a linear relationship or whether it is a parabolic relationship. I can't remember the exact term used.
Would it surprise you to know that he actually used 4?
I would be surprised because I've only heard him ever using 2.
Yeah, so he used the inverse angle of his shadow and then paired that parallel with his post. And mathematically, it works out perfectly.
But he didn't actually have a 4th observer.
No, he literally used 2 more control points. That's 4. You didn't really look into this, did you?
Yeah, so I'm just not seeing how a post within your local area. How far away was the post from him? Let me start there. This is all brand new to me.
Yeah, like I said, I would have looked into it a little bit more before I jumped on the whole that horizon's not there and that sun's not setting behind an obstruction.
That's super funny. Again, even if the shadows are what they are, it doesn't debunk the claim that I made about the horizon being constantly refracted. And it definitely doesn't debunk the claim that we would still have a horizon regardless of the shape of the Earth. Like, that is hilarious that you guys say there'd be no horizon if the Earth was flat.
Well, I mean, how would you model it? 2-dimensionally, how would you model it? I mean,
have you ever played a video game?
Why would you be using a video game to prove?
Because there's literally 2-dimensional modeling worlds. You literally have a plane above, you can have a plane below.
Yeah.
It's really, really simple, and it's done all the time. And yes, there's still a horizon in the games. So.
Okay. And again, if the Earth were flat, at some point, being able to see details of the moon, I should be able to look across Nantucket Sound and see Nantucket from Hyannis.
Again, you're just making a claim that we should be able to basically see forever and that the light doesn't attune and that we just have Superman eyes, right? That's just not how it works at all.
No. See, from Hyannis to Nantucket's only 26 miles. You mean to tell me I shouldn't be able to see something 26 miles away with the naked eye?
What's your elevation?
60 inches.
60 inches from the ground?
60 inches from the shore.
Okay,
water.
from sea level. Yeah, so why would you be able to see that with such a limited field of view?
Well, if the Earth was flat, I should be able to see it.
No, there's still something called angle of incidence. And then again, you also have refraction over water too. So regardless of if the light's bending up or down, right, refraction obstructs things. And that's why when you use infrared photography, which cuts through refraction or some of it, it actually allows you to see more because, again, refraction obstructs things.
But an island that's 18 miles wide, I shouldn't be able to see it because of angle of, what did you say?
Angle of incidence, the angle that the light would actually come at you.
Well,
and the attenuation of light.
If it were flat, it would come at me perpendicular to my spinal cord, right? I mean, it would be from the horizon to my eye. It would be level. If the island clearly is taller than me because, think about this. Come on now. You really can't believe that that's an argument for the reason you can't.
All right, let me ask you this. So you missed a huge thing, right? Because I pointed this out when I pointed out that there were trees and other things. So when you look out over water, right, is it like perfectly calm? You think it's perfectly calm water, giving you a perfect reflection, 26 miles of it? Or do you think that there's some like waves and stuff?
Why would I need the water to be perfectly calm and reflective to be able to see an island that is taller than me? I mean, we're not just talking about some little rock popping up out of the water.
So you just keep repeating. All right, so I'm trying to like breadcrumb it a little bit, but you're just being completely disingenuous and refusing to like pick up any of them, right? When this is like obvious stuff. So things get smaller in the distance, right? That's obvious. Angular size reduction. right? So that means that the top of that thing is actually going to shrink down to the horizon as a simple matter of fact, right? Now, as it gets lower to the horizon, you're also going to have things in the foreground like waves and refraction that will actually obstruct that light. There's also attenuation of light in general. So the light that's closer to the surface is going to be absorbed by the thicker air more than the light that's going through the less thick air. So this is just an obvious fact, and it just gets completely ignored. You say that anything disappearing on the horizon has to be Earth curve, when objectively this right here, if you watch this moon set all the way, it disappears into itself, and you will claim that it's setting.
No, it doesn't disappear into itself. It literally dissolves from the bottom up.
No, this right here, what you're actually seeing a reflection of the moon underneath, because the hard line, that blue line, is not the actual horizon. That moon is being reflected off of the top layer of the water, which actually is the horizon. And what you actually see is that moon merge into its own reflection, because you're not seeing the actual water. It's a mirage.
That is a mirage.
This is definitely a mirage objectively.
The definitive, the hard line where the bottom spherical edge of that moon is obscured by something is not something, it's just a mirage. That's what you're telling me?
So wait a second. You think that the bottom edge of this moon is obscured by the hard blue line of the water and not merging into a reflection of itself?
I think there is a shit ton of refraction above that hard blue line, which is in fact the horizon. And that is why it's scattering the light like it is in a inferior mirage. But there is at no point that thing reflecting back in on itself, because it would in fact be casting the same exact shape underneath that hard blue line, would it not?
Yeah, we see this observation not just with the moon and the sun, but we see it with boats and birds and all kinds of stuff on the water all the time. It's not the mirage that you're referring to, where it's like the light is being like magically loomed down. What you're seeing is the perfect incidence angle of the water casting the reflection of the sky in a way that it obstructs the actual water, creating the mirage, right, and lowering the horizon. That's why you're not, again, you can see the line of the actual horizon as where the moon is, where the mirage of the moon is, where it has that mirror-like effect. This is objective regardless of what model you believe in. That is not, the blue line is not where the horizon is.
That is subjective, and you would have to have a lot more than I said it's objective than to convince me that that is not the horizon. The hard blue line is 1000% the horizon above that body of water.
All right. Well, you heard it here, guys. I'm not trying to go in circles with you. We'll just have to agree to disagree. Again, my claim is that is a reflection from the water of the sky and the moon merging into its own reflection. And so therefore, that would mean that the hard blue line is not the actual horizon, that it's actually a little bit higher than that. But your claim is that that light is actually being loomed down due to atmospheric conditions, and the blue hard line is the actual physical horizon.
Right. Just like Chicago skyline, if you researched any of that ever in the history of ever.
We have a guy, don't you know that I'm good buddies with Jim? He takes photos of the skyline all the time, and you guys were full of crap when you said that it was only certain times of the year that you could see it. You can see it all the time. He brings me a new picture almost every single week.
Yeah, every single week, but every single day? No.
So you just moved the goal. It was claimed before that it was only certain times of the year in super special conditions.
Yeah, on average, it's 28 days out of the year that you can see the amount of the skyline that is shown in the famous picture that people like to pull up and go, this is fake because the whole city should be under 186 feet of, or 186 miles or whatever the bullshit flat earth math is.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
I
So, like, seriously, have you ever even considered taking a construction transit or a theodolite to the horizon or the top of a mountain and watch the sun come up underneath it?
Yeah, so the watch the sun come up underneath the horizon. I actually personally have not done that. I
Okay.
think that that's explained with field view, where at high elevation you would never actually see that from the anywhere on the ground, obviously. But
Well, why?
again, I think that when you are pointing a theodolite, you're pointing it at that blue hard line, and again making the assumption that that's the horizon, and that's not the horizon. The horizon is higher
So,
than that.
so indulge me. Let's assume I'll let you pick. How high do you think the observer is that took this photo or this video right here?
I don't know. I don't care really.
Okay, just take a guess.
Maybe 20 feet high.
Okay. Do you have a pen or a pencil?
No.
Okay, can you use like your pinky and just hold your pinky up horizontally and show me where you think 20 feet would be in front of that moon?
What do you mean? Like 20 feet in front of the moon?
Like
That's
if you moved
that's
out to
tiny.
that if you moved out to that horizon, where do you think 20 feet would be?
I have no idea, dude. The angular
So
size is is ridiculously reduced. So my pinky is going to pull out like a huge section of moon. I have no idea to be able to determine that.
right, yeah, it's easier if you use the tip of a pen.
I'd
But
probably be almost merged to the horizon still if I had to just like put a straight line out to it.
I mean, that's better than what I got out of Derek. He was like he thought it would be way the hell up there in the air, something ridiculous. So at least you understand some scale. But yeah, I know I appreciate your honesty and understanding that 20 feet on that horizon would almost be irreconcilable.
Yeah, it would be a blip. We'd have to be
Yeah,
counting pixels, I bet.
yeah, yeah. So and there you would if you were able to set up a theodolite and you put it absolutely perfectly level and aim it on a tangent out towards the horizon and see how the angular dissolve that takes place in an object like like Derek asked me the other night, take a ship and put it 20 miles away. Would the drone fly straight over the top of a 100-foot tall ship? It would, because the tangent line over 20 miles is one hell of a lot higher all the way out there at the horizon if you're not taking into account reflection or elevation and curvature, which is why we can't see Nantucket from even Martha's Vineyard, which is closer than Hyannis, which is why we can't see Rhode Island from the clay cliffs of Aquina, which is 128 feet off of the beach. We can't see Long Island, New York from up there because the curvature of the earth. These
Well,
are
Big Daddy Russ, I do appreciate your fervor in the matter and feeling that all these observations are 100% proof of the globe. Even though I feel like we've established that there's an optical phenomena going on at the horizon, and that you're not actually ever seeing a non-optical horizon. The question that I really have, and this is to like find the common ground, is because again, the big difference we're having is you say this light is looming down, and I'm saying that this is just reflecting off of the water. Now, in similar observations, we actually do see a perfect reflection in the way that you would expect it to see if it was coming off of a surface on the ground. Like with birds and boats, you do see like that perfect reflection. With the moon, it's a little bit hard because it's, for one, in this one, it's kind of blurred.
right.
But in any case, how would we be able to test or reconcile the difference between these two theories? Because um, they're obviously different, and they are pertinent to this debate. I feel if we can, and I feel like it's pertinent because of the geometry of it, right? Because
Right.
this reflection happening on the water, creating this incident angle, would only work if we are dealing with a relatively flat plane.
Well, if you were to go to an elevation higher than most, say in your town or your county, you could get up on top of a hill at a park or the top of a building. Some people work in skyscrapers and literally use a level, just a 4-foot framing level, and
So
literally prop it up perfectly level and aim it at the horizon and look down it like a rifle, and then watch everything that's going to uh, pass by it traveling in the same direction that you're looking or coming in an opposing direction disappear in perfect angular resolution down to nothing, and everything does that except the sun and the moon.
yeah, I actually do agree with you on that. That the moon and the sun kind of operate a little differently, but the claims that they never change angular size have been completely debunked. Even in the mainstream model, they do change angular size. Even throughout real world observations, we've counted the pixels with a solar filter. We've seen objectively it does change angular size. The question becomes, how much angular size would we expect to see if we do have a dome of vision, as is indicated with the hyperbolic visual space studies that have been done? If we are seeing a sun that's the same distance as it is on the horizon on one end, say sunrise, it's the same distance as it is up above our head, as the same distance as it is on the other side of the horizon, at least the way that it presents itself, then how much angular size would we really expect to see? We can't just assume that it would just narrow down into nothing, right? It's
Well,
not a good assumption.
it would have to be, based on the geometry, it would have to be at its biggest straight above our head, would it not?
No, so if it's the same distance, like imagine this: if the sun presents itself, just for math's sake, at 1,000 miles high, and it's also for math's sake 1,000 miles when it's at sunset and 1,000 miles when it's at sunrise, that's the same distance, right? It's the same
Right.
distance at sunrise as it is at sunset, as it is when it's directly above you. I'm not
Right.
saying those are the actual numbers. I'm just
No, no,
saying that
no.
for the thought experiment.
I'm tracking you. I'm tracking you. Yep. Yep. And you're right. Yeah, it would be the same distance. So there's no reason to expect it to change in angular size. However, to claim that a sunset is just the sun or the moon traveling so far away that we can't see it anymore, I mean, literally, geometry dictates it would have to be smaller, right?
I agree with you, but the thing would be, again, the question becomes how much smaller would we actually expect it to see, right? And especially when we see that the horizon is always being blocked by something, whether it be mirage or by physical obstruction.
Right,
So
right, right.
it's an interesting conundrum, and one that I would like to explore further in a future conversation. But I do have to wrap this up. Russ, do you have any final thoughts for the audience?
Yeah, just simply take your observation from wherever you are, and everybody has some new best friend somewhere on this app, somewhere else in their country or another, and take the observation, measure the angle of the light, your sun, and track that across somebody's sunset, your sunrise, or your sunset, and then ask yourself, how in the hell is that possible if the North Pole is in the center and circumnavigation is around the North Pole on a pizza? The math ain't mathin'. We've done it live, I think now 10 times with somebody in Australia, somebody in the UK. We even had somebody in South Africa. And if you take the practically accurate Gleason map and triangulate that in its locations based on the angular resolution and the geometry that we observe it at the exact same time in multiple locations, you'll see that not only is the Tropic of Cancer not even in the picture anymore, but somebody in California should be able to look straight up when my sun is setting and see the sun.
That's some interesting claims there. I will get on the Walter Bislin flat Earth model and do some playing around. Maybe we can uh, maybe we can replicate or prove out what you're saying there. I think it's pretty interesting. Yeah, the way that I see it, just on face value, is that the location of the sun doesn't necessarily prove the shape of the earth. I know that you guys assume purely Euclidean geometry, but if it is true that we see in our own personal dome of vision, then who's to say that the sun can't present itself as at a different location dependent on the observer on this azimuthal grid? I just say azimuthal grid just because the azimuth angles are what you can measure, and then you can just grid things out from there. Not that there's a literal grid that goes over your vision. So Globers try not to be disingenuous about it.
Oh, no. I 1000% don't think you're nearly as dumb as Witsit. So yeah, I know you don't buy into that horse shit. But yeah, no, I just think that Witsit's been taken out of context, and Glober's just kind of run with it and thinking that he's stupid. But I've had personal conversations with him, and he's actually very intelligent, and he can back up everything that he's said. So at least everything that I've been looking at, and he admits when he's making mistakes, right? He's already come and doubled back from the hardcore Trinitarian Christian standpoint, right? When you go and you look into the Bible, you can see that there's actually a lot more to the story, which I do recommend. A side issue, people asked me the other day, is this the only debate that I do? And I actually do a true fate, or basically a religious only debate, on where people can come on and basically argue out what they think the fate of mankind is and the fate of the soul, or if we even have one, right? There's tons of atheists out there that think that it's all melodrama and there's just nothing that happens, and we're just trying to create meaning in our otherwise meaningless lives. I don't know, but I think a great way to find out is to have these conversations. Oh yeah,
Russ?
no, absolutely. I have a great deal of faith in that my faith journey is not for everybody, but listening to the opinions of others that do not deny logic and reality is a good way to grow. So yeah, it's good times. But yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on, and like I said, I'm not always an asshole. I mean, I can be.
No, you really showed me today. You left me pleasantly surprised, so I appreciated the interaction.
Yep. All right. Have a good one. Appreciate you. Bye.
Yep, absolutely. See you next time, Russ. Appreciate you coming on, folks. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I see you guys smashing the likes. Thank you guys for all the gifts. It's been awesome. We may go ahead and post this to the... All right. As you know, my decision... Oh, what great thumbnail here. Hilarious. Let's get that out of here. Yeah, as you guys know, my decision was to go ahead and post the conversation. Let's go ahead and transition back. Excuse me. My goodness, been drinking a whole bunch of tea. Got my hair all messed up. I've just been chilling back here, chatting with you guys on the phone in the chats. It's been awesome. So let me actually go through. I've been neglecting the Rockfin, unfortunately. That's my bad, guys. That's completely my bad. But what a great show. Pretty funny. I was laughing a lot during that, even though this is my own show. But you guys were killing it in the chat, so you guys kept me laughing. What is up with everybody getting deleted in the chats? That's crazy. You need to everybody needs to chill out. Need to kick someone on Rockfin. Let me go get it. Who's getting kicked? Oh yeah. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and block you then. How do you mod somebody on Rockfin? I think I just accidentally blocked an extra person, and I don't know who it was. Whoops. Let me go see if I can figure that out here live on the air. Much love, guys. Whoopsie daisy. That is Rockfin for you. It's got like a delayed response. Anybody who's used it knows that is how it goes. Awesome. Yeah, I think it was pretty wild for for Russ to be calling Witsit dumb. It shows that he probably has never listened to him a day in his life. So, obviously, Witsit is very intelligent and would smoke that clown. Anyway, that being said, much love to you all who have decided to join us. Stego, bro, with the $5 tip. Much love. Thank you for the donation. Flat smacking for days. Keep it up. We will. I'm going to try to do like at least one a day unless I'm doing another show. So tomorrow, don't expect anything. We're going to be doing Globe Busters, right? It's going to be Globe Busters at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. Check it out. We're going to be diving into the gyroscopes. It's going to be awesome. We also got David Harbour, Robotic Double, Jared Wickley, Nominal, and lots more. Donald Hill. Lots of back and forth, so I don't really feel like scrolling through the whole thing. I do got to wrap this thing on up. Some people were looking forward to an open panel. Unfortunately, we're not doing the open panel tonight. Save your questions. Save your evidences. We're going to be opening it back up on Friday. We're going to be doing the same kind of format. We got the TikTok Tribune and then a nice open panel. So it's going to be awesome. I think if you call me a customer one more time, I'll consider becoming a baller. That's super funny. All right. There was one more donation in here I needed to shout out. Jared Wilkie, much love, my friend. Screw the South. The answer to a lot of our questions is in the North and is doable. That is true. You don't necessarily have to go to the Southern Hemisphere to prove anything. All right. All right, let me go back here. Thrashless Smith, Bill Wheel, Moomin, Ryder, Andrew, Jan, Inner Sea, Fish Out of Water, Salted Cedar, Ace, Earth, 700, Adam, Justin Johnson, Tiffany, Vinci. You guys are all legends. Continuing on, we're not going to get to everybody because there's a huge list here. Be sure to smash that like on the way out. We definitely appreciate that, and we're obviously not going to leave without playing, excuse me, my goodness, a stellar tune. So it is going to be awesome in just a moment. But first, San Pedro. We also got Ruhif, Stego Bro, Seducer. Yeah, they were doing wits and dirty. Chillin'. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys. You're all legends. If I missed you, I apologize. But you get in early, and then you definitely get shotted out, right? So all the more reason to be waiting around. And we almost always start on time, right? Almost always. I'll knock on wood. That way, that doesn't change here. Superstitious at times. But anyway, you guys have a wonderful night. Let's see if it plays a commercial. Hopefully not. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.